Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, welcome to my live stream. My name is Nazarah Merah. I'm just gonna wait a few moments and see if anybody's gonna be joining in with us live. So I just finished up the final day for my activated leadership training program today, and so I'll be speaking more on this tomorrow. I'll be sharing more on the new season that will be opening up at the end of March, so in a couple of weeks. So I'll be sharing more on this tomorrow, but I just wanted to kind of let you guys know that that was coming up. If you are interested in that, you can go to my website and get on the sign up list, and I'll be sending out information on how you can apply for admission tomorrow. So good to see you guys. Thank you all for being here with me. It's so good to have you all. I love sharing together in this way, and I love connecting with you guys, and I'm just so excited about this irreversible self-realization program that we are doing together. And today is day 4. So I've been loving hearing what you guys are sharing in the group, and I love anything and everything that you want to share, because how I perceive what's being shared, because I'm not seeing separate beings. I'm not seeing us as separate beings. I'm seeing us as the one infinite consciousness that we are together. So when you share something that's coming through in the moment, that's really a kind of a representation. You might not even realize this, but this is what it is. It's representing an energy that's in our field as the collective. Okay, so the mind will perceive it personal, that, oh no, it's just me, I'm just feeling this way, but you're not seeing this from outside of that person mind perspective, because outside of that person mind perspective, there's only one being here. So these energies are being moved for us to see what they are. We have to see what they are. We have to see them together as a collective, so then we can find creative ways to pop all these little mental containers and to try to really feel the truth of what we are together, so as the one. So that's how I perceive it. So whenever I see a sharing from one of you guys in the group, I'm just seeing, oh, it's not about that person, it's not about some individual person, it's this energy's in our field. So let's see how we can work with this energy in a very creative way, and so we can all harmonize together. So that's how I see it. So thank you all for being the channel for these energies, because what you're sharing, it's something that is being shared for others that are in the community that maybe are not feeling ready to share, or not feeling empowered enough to share yet. So that's what you're doing. You are revealing this energy that's within our field. So thank you for that. And so the topic came up today about irreversible self-realization and about the unity mind stage of consciousness. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about this, because I know when you're kind of deepening into self-realization, the mind is always trying to figure out, where am I going? What is it going to look like? How am I going to be? I need to know. And the reason those questions come up in the mind, because the mind's kind of scared about the unknown. It's like, oh, I don't know what that is, and what if it's something bad? What if I'm not able to do it? So it already has these kind of assumptions that project fearful thoughts. So I'm not telling you this because you're saying a wrong question or there's anything. No, I'm showing you so you can actually start to see like how these energies are worked in our mind-body system, how they're being moved. And so like where these kinds of, where it's coming from. Because what we'll always be pointing back to is you already are self-realized. You already are that in this moment. So that's why I want to show you how simple it is. I want to show you how simple and easy it is. I want you to see. And I haven't talked a lot about the unity mind stage of consciousness. I didn't really go deeply into that. I talked about the other stages. And perhaps the reason I didn't really talk about it is because I just feel that's already what you are. That's already what you are. So I see that and I feel that for you so strong. That's already what you are. When I see you, that's what I see. So then it's just like, oh, if there's a thought coming up, I'm like, oh, that's not what you are. That's just a thought. So it's so pure of what you actually are. Like your natural state of ease and lightness and peace and joy. That's what you are. That's the unity mind stage. So you've already experienced this. You see, you already are this right now. You've already experienced this. And you can know when you've experienced this if you look back on times in your life. I know you have a lot of moments like this where you were feeling so light. You were feeling so just at ease with life and so connected and so at peace and just, you're feeling so good. And everything was feeling so light. And if a thought did come up that was like a heavy thought, you just would laugh at it. You didn't take it seriously. You didn't take it seriously. You were just like, oh, that's so silly. Why was I ever thinking that before? And you just are laughing at it and you just feel so light. That's what it is. That's what this irreversible self-realization is. You see? You already are it. It's so simple. That's why it gets to be funnier and funnier as you progress, because you'll let go of the seeker at some point. You're going to let go of the one who is seeking to try to be self-realized, because it's going to be like, why? It's going to feel all of a sudden at some point, it's going to feel out of alignment to be seeking something. And that's... And there might still be some confusion, because what happens is as you progress, you're like popping out of these mental containers. So that's why this whole program, you guys, this whole program is about popping us out of mental containers. I want you to realize that. That's what the whole program is about. So there's a lot of different types of mental containers. There's a lot. So that's why every day I could be saying opposite things. Because I'm just trying to find all these little containers and be like, nope, not that one, not that, not that, not that, not that. So you guys can just feel yourself. You can feel what you are. You can feel your natural state again. And that's why really, as you kind of really start going deeper, the whole idea of self-realization will become quite funny. It will become quite silly. If you guys watched my earlier sharings when I was first starting to share, I was talking about how I'm never gonna be sharing on self-realization, and it didn't make any sense, and I was laughing about it because it seems quite funny once you kind of realize yourself. You could say that this is like it seems so funny because you're like, this is always what I've been. This is always what I've been. I've always been this. So it seems funny. The whole journey of it seems quite hilarious. The idea, basically, there was an idea that there was a journey to what you've always been. It seems so funny. But to the part of your being, there might be a part of the mind that's still saying, this is a journey and I'm not there yet. And this is what I'm trying to show you, is that these thoughts that are coming up that's saying, I'm not already that, those thoughts are what's going to be dissolved too, you see? They're going to be dissolved. But what is pulling you? It's like the thoughts aren't really pulling you. You have to see this too. It's not the thoughts that are pulling you to self-realization. There's a deeper part of your being that's pulling you here, to even be here tuning into these sharings and to be a part of this group. It's not because you had a thought about it, an idea. Oh, maybe I'm going to take up self-realization as a hobby. Let me try it out. It's not because of that. It's not that. The mind thinks that. The mind thinks, oh, I just keep coming up with ideas and I decided that I'm going to be into self-realization right now, and the mind wants to say that. But that's not really what's going on. There's just a part of your being that's like knows that you are here to like really step into some kind of deeper knowing of yourself. Or perhaps there's been challenges, there's been some type of triggers that have been coming up, or you hear certain thoughts and they feel heavy and you feel identified with them and you don't really want to be identified with those types of thoughts. Or there's an intuition that you have, that you know that there is a lighter state of being that you can be enjoying, because you felt it already in your life. You felt lighter states of being. You've had maybe an awakening before, or you've had experiences before where you just felt so like in the state of being, and you felt so light and easy. And so there's a part of your being that's like, yeah, that is where I'm going. That's my highest potential. I want to be embodied in that state all the time. And there's a part of your being that already knows that's your path, and knows that that is what you're here for. That's your destiny. That's why you're here. That's why you're a part of this right now. It's not because of an idea you had. You're just being, your heart is kind of pulling you there. So what we're working with, though, is these thoughts that are rising, that are saying, all of these thoughts that come up that are saying, you're not already what you are, you're not good enough to be what you are, you're not going to be able to be what you are. Like, when you get outside of it, you're going to see how funny it is, how funny all these thoughts are. Because basically there's some voice in the head that's just talking, that's saying that you can't just be what you are, and it's going to be very hard, and you're not good enough to just be what you are. You see? But we're getting in tune. We're getting in tune with our natural intuition, okay? Because we have to see if the mind is lying to us too. Because sometimes the mind, what's actually happening is there's actually a fear, a contraction feeling, a heavy emotion. There's a feeling that could arise in your being, and the mind doesn't want to feel that, okay? And so there's like kind of a sense of wanting to run away from that experience. And so sometimes the mind could come up with, no, I already am self-realized. I already am what I am. There's no, I don't need to do that. And it could try to pull you to get back into your old patterns of distraction, because there's actually a fear of feeling something in the present moment, right here, right now. So that's what we're starting to notice, because we're feeling, if you feel through your heart, the heart can't lie to you. The mind can lie and tell you a lot. It can create like so many loops of stories. It can create a whole story about self-realization and why you were on the path of self-realization, but now you decided you're not on the path of self-realization because you figured out this, and now you're on a new path, and your new path is going to be about business, and you're going to focus on business now because self-realization is just, it's not really that important. And you know, those people that are doing self-realization, that's just a phase that you go through. And it could come up with these kind of ideas, you see. And just to kind of get you out of actually feeling like a trigger that was coming up, or some kind of purging process that was arising. But your heart would know. If you actually tuned into your heart always knows. Your heart knows. Because your heart feels the vibrational frequency of these thoughts and stories. It feels them. It feels them vibrationally. And that's how you know if you're in alignment or not. Because what enlightenment is, what self-realization is you feeling so light. So light. So your heart can feel things if they feel light, or if there feels like there's a contraction or a fear in there. Your heart knows. Excuse me. So that's why it's very important to be anchoring into our heart, and kind of every thought that could arise, we're dropping it into the heart, into presence, to feeling into it. So what this irreversible self-realization is, it's very simple, you see. It's so simple. It's so simple. It's very simple. It's just really it's an embodied state of allowing, or of surrender. It's an embodied state of that. It's an embodied state. So it means, and what that means by embodied, it means that you've gotten so good. You've actually went through such a major purging process already. You went through so many purging processes, and you went through so many of them, and you actually just kind of realize after going through so many of them that, oh, I just surrender to this very fast, and then it actually releases, and then I don't have to experience it that same way anymore. So when you actually have went through a purging process so many times, and you went through these heavy thoughts that would come up, and you surrendered into presence, and you felt the pain of them right here, right now, and you didn't run away from them, and you felt the emotions, and you did that, after you would do that so many times, then what naturally comes is you kind of have this realization. Maybe it would be a thought and a realization, or maybe it would actually, you wouldn't even realize, it would just be, you just practiced something for so long that you just got so good at it. This is what happens. You got so good at this that you don't even experience it the same way. It's like it's so instant. It becomes so instant. It's like, oh, a heavy energy arises, and you instantly realize, oh, that's not what I am. That's in front of me. You instantly realize it because you've just gotten so good at practicing that. So it's not saying as you go to this irreversible self-realization, there's not going to be heavy energies that you wouldn't experience. There could be, there's a process in my physical body that's like, there's some energy that's being released. And so I feel, in some moments, I feel some type of pain in the physical body. And so that's okay though. Like, I don't identify with it. I don't say, oh my God, this pain, why is this hurting? Oh my God, this hurts so bad. Why is this happening to me? I don't feel it like that. I just, oh, there's a sensation in there, and in that moment I go straight into feeling that. I go straight into feeling it fully, and I'm breathing into it and just becoming it, and just totally feeling it. I become it. I don't run away from these things anymore. I just feel them, and I kind of die into them. I surrender into them. And it's not even, in my state of being now, it doesn't even feel like a surrendering anymore, because it's like, it just becomes, you actually are what you are, which you're always allowing of everything. What you actually are allows everything to be as it is. So you just actually realize, oh, I am what's always allowing. So you just are embodied at that. So you're always allowing what's arising in the present moment. And when you've done that so many times, by everything, every single thought that could arise, every single emotion that could arise, every single sensation that could arise, you, in the moment, surrender to that and allow it to be as it is. Feel the emotions or whatever sensations or whatever feelings arise fully without running away from them. You feel them in the heart. And you stop resisting it. You're not resisting anything. Because the only thing that ever wants to resist is the mind, you see. What you actually are doesn't ever resist anything. And when I'm saying this, I know that there could be thoughts coming up in the mind like, well, if I'm not going to resist something, then what if this happens? I'm not going to be able to be empowered. But you're not seeing the process that happens, because these are all ideas of fear that are being projected from the person mind, of saying, I need to actually kind of worry about these things. And because you have those fears, then it creates a certain like movement of the way that you respond to things, because there's fears that are there. But if you actually faced all those fears and you didn't have any ideas, then what would happen is just in the moment, naturally, you would just do what you need to do. You would act from a natural place of your own power. It would just come through, because you would know, oh, I'm powerful enough to choose my preference too. I can choose my preference when I can choose my preference. And when my preference can't be chosen, then I'm allowing of whatever's here. So we go very deeply into allowing and surrendering through this process. That's what we're practicing. So we get so good at it, it becomes just an embodied state. You don't have to think about it anymore. It just becomes so instant. And then you realize, oh, I am the presence. I am the presence, and these things are just happening within me, in front of me, basically. So you're not identified with them. You're not identified with the mind that would want to resist it. There's an instant like feeling of whatever would arise. It could be, like I'm giving this example of a physical sensation, because sometimes with physical sensations too, the mind actually gets most scared about those things, about, oh my God, there's this physical sensation, I don't want to feel this. But if you actually just soften into anything that would arise, then you actually could start healing it. You would instantly start healing it. It would start shifting the energy pattern. So this is the same with everything that would arise. Any thought that could arise, any emotion that could arise, any feeling that could arise. If you didn't resist it at all, whatever's arose in the moment, you just completely allowed it to be and surrendered into it. If you kept doing that again and again and again and again, every single time a heavy energy arose, at some point it just would become so automatic for you that it doesn't even become a process anymore. That's all you do, because that's the only logical thing that makes sense, because you realize, why would I resist what's happening right now? Why would I resist reality? It's happening right now, and resisting it only makes it stay longer and makes suffering happen and makes it more intense. So that's all this is. We're getting so good at practicing this. We're practicing this. We're seeing ourselves as the presence. We're staying as awareness, aware of awareness, seeing ourselves as the presence. Because we have to see ourselves as the presence so we can know ourselves as that. Because otherwise your consciousness is just hooked on thought. And if you keep following those thoughts, they keep taking you down different timelines and different dream experiences to play out. And I'm not saying you're not going to ever play out. You're going to have explorations. You are, but you want to have these explorations, you see, when you can actually have a clarity where you can see, oh, I'm none of these explorations. I'm not any of them. I'm not any of these thoughts. So I don't need to be lost in a dream and unconscious when I play out these things. I can just go into every single thing, every single exploration, so consciously. So realizing that that's not actually what I am, that's just in front of me. And so then everything is so light, whatever it is. It could be thoughts of resistance. It could be confusion. It could be thoughts of sadness. It could be frustration in the body. It could be agitation. It could be anything could arise. You see, any and everything could arise. Any and every energy could arise within the field of you, within your mind-body system. But if you weren't identified with it, then you would just feel that, and there would be you would just realize, you would know, you would feel that, oh, I'm the space that's holding this. So then everything becomes so light. There's no feeling of feeling disempowered, like, oh, why is this happening to me? Oh my God, why are these thoughts happening? Why is this emotions? Why is this sensations? Why do I have to keep going through this? Oh my God, that is the mind that is saying that stuff. It's okay if those thoughts could arise, but see, what we're practicing is we're seeing that those thoughts are in the field of you, in the space of presence, but that's not what you are. That's just an old pattern of the mind that wants to create kind of a timeline and a dream of suffering. So you just become so allowing of whatever it is that's in the space. It's there, it's supposed to be there, it's okay. And so we're getting really good at allowing things and not resisting things until we can get the clarity to see, oh, I'm not resisting this. And so because I know I'm not resisting this, then now I can actually have the clarity of knowing, okay, there's nothing resisting, I'm just choosing my preference. So it kind of moves from one to the other. At first, you just have to surrender, because the mind wants to choose its preference from a place of resistance. That's what the mind wants to do. It wants to be like, no, I want to hold my vibration. My vibration shouldn't stay like this. I need my vibration to be good all the time, and it needs to be at high vibration. And so if there was a heavy energy, the mind would be like creating this idea about holding the vibration even, and then resisting what's arising, because it's creating a fear that if I don't hold my vibration in this way, that means something bad is going to happen. And it's already perpetuating that kind of underlying idea. And then it wants to choose a preference, which isn't of choosing a preference, it's actually resistance. It could be a resistance, a very strong resistance. But you wouldn't know that until you actually would just allow everything and totally surrender into whatever's arising in the moment. because you give up fighting. You give up fighting anything. There's nothing that's fighting anything. And once you truly are so embodied and you know that you're not fighting or resisting anything, then you are in such an empowered place, because then you're just so centered and you are surrendered to everything. And then whatever you do move in is your preference, is coming just from an excitement. It's not coming of a, oh my God, I got to get it out of this. I don't want to feel this. I got to run away from this. No, I don't want to experience this. I got to go to something else. No, you have such a strong clarity. You know you're not resisting anything. You're going deep into everything. You're feeling everything. It's okay. You know it's okay to be there. You're so in the state of an embodied state of allowing. So I'm bringing all this stuff up because I want you guys to see how the practice needs to go, how the journey goes. Because after you get so good at this, then things really start to shift, because then you've just gotten so good at it. So, you know, it's like naturally your experience just becomes lighter and lighter, authentically and organically, without an effort of trying to do that. You're not trying to make it light and easy and trying to be anymore. You just know that you are what is being. You are the being. You are the presence. And so then everything is just happening within you. But the progression is, you have to just, every time a thought comes up and you feel you get hooked with it, every time an emotion comes up and you feel a part of your being is getting hooked with it, every time a sensation comes up, you feel a part of your being is getting hooked with it, you have to realize, you have to have a self-realization in that moment. Realize, as soon as you can, realize, oh, I'm seeing this. And even if you got caught up in it for a period of time, it doesn't matter. Just realize, I'm seeing that. As soon as you awaken, as soon as you realize, oh, that's not what I am. I'm the one seeing that. Then that's all that was needed. You just needed to see that play out so you could become aware of that old identification from the mind that your consciousness was hooked to. You just needed to see it. That was it. There's no judgment. There's no, you're not doing it good enough. None of that. Those are all from the mind. Those are all ideas from the mind. So this work has to be done, even if you've realized the pure consciousness or I awareness state, or the state of the absolute. Even if you went into a very deep awakening experience, that doesn't mean necessarily that you have released all of these basically identifications with these old beliefs and old thoughts that are in the mind. So this kind of work, it's basically you're practicing an embodied state of living. That's why, I had a lot of experiences, but then I realized one point those mean absolutely nothing. That's why I feel what we're doing right now is much more important than having an awakening experience. It's fun to have awakening experiences. If it feels exciting for you, then keep pursuing that. But if it's not because you're not supposed to be doing it. But that's what I'm sharing with you guys. This is an embodied state of living. This is how you're going to just live in your natural state of lightness all the time. And when you are in this natural state of lightness and you're seeing, oh, I am the presence and all these things are happening within me, basically in front of me. I'm not any of these things. And whatever would arise, there's a constant abiding, living as allowing it. It's like you actually get out of this even idea of surrender. Because you realize the only thing that's surrendering is the mind. You're not surrendering. You're the one seeing the mind. You even get out of that idea altogether. You just see, oh, the mind is the only thing that needs to surrender. And I'm not identified with that mind, so I'm not surrendering. The mind is just doing whatever it's doing, and I'm seeing it. But when you're still kind of having these identifications come up as they're pulling your consciousness, it will feel like, oh, I need to surrender. It can feel like that. I have to surrender. But really, all that's surrendering is the mind. You're just seeing that. So the more that you practice this is why this natural purging process is so perfect, you guys. It's natural. It's a natural part of the process. It's necessary. And I've seen the progression. I've seen how fast it can be with this last training course that I just was in with the people that I was in the course, how their progression was. They've had profound realizations during this time, and I saw how the energy was being moved, how fast it is. You know, they would basically go through feeling good, and they would kind of like be integrating something, and then all of a sudden they would have some triggers come up, and they would be really heavy in those triggers for several days. Sometimes like for a few days, 3 to 5 days, and they would be could be really heavy in those. And we were holding the space for them. And then all of a sudden they would have a realization and it would be so profound, and they would have a realization on the other end of that. And it was like instantly they saw through all of that, and they realized that they're seeing that, they became so blissful and light, like instantly. And then they stepped into a whole nother level of power. So the progression was like this for the whole time. And that's natural. It can happen very quickly if you understand the process that's happening. So then you don't resist the process that's happening. You just surrender into, okay, there's a purging process happening right now. Okay, I'm the one seeing it. Okay, I just keep surrendering the mind moment to moment to moment. Just keep surrendering the mind, trusting this process, trusting this is exactly what's supposed to happen right now. I'm the one seeing it. And you're just allowing this and just aligning with the presence again and again and again during that process. And it will feel challenging, it will feel heavy, it will feel uncomfortable. And the reason it's feeling uncomfortable is because these old thoughts and beliefs of lack and limitation are bubbled up to the surface in your field, and you're feeling the frequency that you have been kind of subtly living in for your life. You're feeling it in a very concentrated way, like this is it. So it feels very uncomfortable because it's resistance, it's disempowerment, it's fear, it's all of these old heavy charges. They're coming up, they're purging out of the mind-body system. But if you just stay with presence and you keep surrendering into presence again and again and again, no matter what the mind is saying, no matter what's coming up, just keep making your declaration, keep surrendering into presence, then it will shift very quickly. It will. Because you're so aligned with your intention and with this community and the frequency that's being emitted that you will get out of it very quickly if you keep surrendering into presence. You will. We don't have to play these things out like we used to. We used to have to play them out for weeks and months and years. We don't have to do that anymore. It's a very fast process now. Very, very accelerated process. And on the other side of it, once you actually, the purge ends, it's like you have a realization all of a sudden, and you're just like, oh, you see the bigger picture. You actually go into the unity mind stage of consciousness, because that's why you feel yourself. You go in the unity mind stage, and you see it all of a sudden. You're like, oh, you see outside of the whole thing. You see the bigger picture of it. And it's become so funny and blissful, and you just realize, oh my God, and you feel so liberated and so free all of a sudden. So this is the progression. It's like these waves that we're going on. We're doing it in a very accelerated way. And at some point, these things are just going to purge all these heavy energies, and you're not going to identify with them. So you're going to realize, I'm seeing it. So it will start getting faster and faster. Because the more that you don't resist and the more you keep surrendering, the quicker that you do that, you guys, it can become so quick. I've realized in my own experience, I've had integrations that have happened recently. I'm just seeing how fast this process can happen when you truly do align with, I want absolute truth. When you truly do sincerely say that, no matter what's coming up, and it could feel like a part of your being has to die. And it can feel very scary, but if you keep declaring, I want absolute truth no matter what, you can go into it very quickly. You can go through these very intense deathing processes very quickly. In a much more accelerated time than was ever known before. And basically it's a major transformation that can happen in a very short period of time. You can move from one stage of consciousness to another within a very short period of time. Very short period of time. Like as a fully embodied state. So what I've been kind of sharing with you guys is you have to fully move into the empowered mind stage. Do you understand? To go into the unity mind stage, you have to fully move into it. So what that process is, you have to realize that you have the power to focus your consciousness. That is part of feeling more empowered. You have the power to realize yourself. I want you to realize that you do have that power. You have to start feeling that and believing that, because that is how you actually fully embody the empowered mind stage. And when you fully embody that, then you can move into the unity mind stage. But these things, how they'll arise is you can go to the unity mind stage and feel so blissful and feel like, yeah, I see the bigger picture and I am just being, and that's so wonderful. Then you are there. That's what you are. So they moves moment to moment. So you could be there and holding that, and then all of a sudden another trigger will come up at some point, and that's okay. Like, this is process. This container we've created is going to make this process happen very fast, because we're basically trying to pull every single. Here's the. I'll share this with you guys. So this, if you remember seeing this, we're basically pulling every single thing from the person mind into the unity mind. Okay, so every single trigger is going to come up, and you have to play them out. You have to, the healing process is going to happen here, and then you're going to realize, oh, I don't need to identify with that. I have the power not to focus on that. I'm focusing on presence. And then once you do that long enough, then that energy from the person mind clears altogether, and then that, whatever that trigger was, it just gets integrated into the unity mind stage. So that's the process. So they're going to come up, these triggers are coming up one by one. It's perfect. This is what needs to happen. This is the natural part of the process. You're doing it so perfectly. But I keep reminding you of this because I don't want you to get hooked with the stories of the mind. Because it will try to pull you and say, oh no, you're not doing it right. See, you have this. No, you're never going to be able to do it. No, it's always going to be so hard. You're never going to be self-realized. You're never going to be what you are. You're never going to be able to be what you are. You see how funny these thoughts are, you guys? These thoughts, you're not good enough to be what you are. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, you are what you are. So we're just basically realizing that these thoughts that are saying all these silly things have nothing to do with us. They have absolutely nothing to do with us. They're just part of a dream of believing we were a person and that we weren't enlightened. That was part of the dream. But you're dropping into your heart because you want to get the truth from your heart. Your heart can't lie to you. The mind could try to lie to you and be like, yeah, I'm already enlightened. I already know. I'm already enlightened. I don't need to sit in presence. I already feel I'm so enlightened. It could start saying something like that. And the reason it would start saying that, it could say that because there's a heavy purge that wants to come up, and then all of a sudden there's a fear of, I don't want to feel that. So then the mind tries to create a story of, oh no, I already am so enlightened. I don't need to do this path anymore. It could say that, but if you were tuned into the heart and you dropped all these thoughts through the heart would tell you the truth. If you really wanted to know the truth, do you really want to know the truth? Do you really want to realize yourself in truth? For you to be at the God state, you see, for you to be at the God state, you have to realize what this is. And I don't use this word a lot, but really that's what it is. Okay, but for you to be embodied at that state, what could you imagine of this idea of this word God? What could you imagine? It's like, everything is allowed. I created everything. Everything is allowed to be as it is. I created it. I love it all. I love it all. I created it all. I'm not scared of any of it. Because you created it. You see, that's what you're moving into. So you have to realize that in every moment, that that's what you are. You are that. You've always been that. You've just been having a dream that you're not. You've always been allowing these things. You're not scared of any of these things. You've always been fearless. You see? There's just these thoughts that were coming up in the field of you saying, no, I can't face this. And then you would hear that thought and then you would believe it, and then you played out a character of a person who's too scared to actually feel something. That was it. That was just part of a play. But it felt really true. It felt so real and so true, and that was what needed to be experienced from that perspective for you to have an authentic experience of being a person. You had to actually believe it fully. So to unbelieve it, you have to actually feel your creation. What did you create? You have to feel it. You have to feel what you created. You're not scared of what you created. You know that nothing can actually happen to what you are. You know none of these frequencies, none of these sensations, none of these thoughts, none of these feelings are affecting what you are. You know that. That's why we even created this play, because we knew that nothing could actually happen to what we are. It's just frequencies, just feelings, just sensations, just thoughts. That's it. And as you face each one of these one by one, you actually realize every single time you face one of them, you have to see what happens every single time. That's why it's like such a profound realization comes from it, such a profound bliss, because every time you go through one of these purging processes, then all of a sudden you realize, oh, on the other side of it, you're just like, you instantly will have a realization that will pull you out of it at some point. Very soon, if you keep surrendering the mind, you'll see, oh, that's, I don't have to believe that. That's not what it is. You instantly realize that like, oh, it's not that. I'm fine. I'm okay. Nothing bad's actually happened to me. That was just an idea, a fear of the mind, and I was just playing out that role and believing that. That's not what it actually is. Everything's fine. I still exist. I'm still here. Everything's okay. And it's actually, you see, it gets to be quite funny. Every single time you'll look back and it'll be funny because you'll be like, I don't even know how I was believing that. I was so scared of that thing. I was so scared of self-realization. I was so scared of going this. I was so scared about it. And then on the other side of it, it's so hilarious that you actually even could see that and believe that perspective. So it's so blissful, and you realize your power. You're like, oh, nothing bad could ever happen to me. Every single time you're gaining more power because you're realizing that. You're realizing how indestructible you are. It doesn't matter what frequency, what feeling, what sensation, what thought could arise. It's all happening in front of you. You're not actually affected by it, no matter how that body feels. No matter what that mind says. And the more that you practice it, then these things just naturally dissolve. All of these heavy charges that were in the mind-body system that you're building, they're just naturally going to be released from your mind-body system. So you have more space in your mind-body system, more presence, more lightness, more ease, and everything just feels so light. So you're just your natural state of being again. And you've gotten so good at realizing, oh, I'm not, just basically the mind has practiced surrendering so much. You've gotten so good at surrendering so quickly, surrendering the mind so quickly, that it just becomes an embodied state of, oh, I'm actually what's always allowing it. I'm always allowing everything to be as it is in the present moment. I'm never resisting anything, so it doesn't matter what's arising. So it's like a constant self-realization, basically. It becomes an embodied state of living. That's it. It becomes an embodied state of living. You're just, every moment, you're just feeling yourself as being the presence. Because you practice it so much. That's how simple this is, you guys. It's so simple. It's not complicated. It's not hard. It's not unattainable. Every single one of us can attain this now. It wasn't understood before exactly what this path was. It wasn't understood the stages that you had to go through to actually be at the unity mind stage, which used to be called the enlightenment. It wasn't understood the stages, and that's why, because we didn't understand the stages, we weren't able to fully embody them to move through them very quickly. And we were getting caught up with the mind kind of lying to itself and not confusing us. So we were getting stuck in that. But now it's so easy, you guys. It's so easy. You know, there's so many people that I've connected with recently that some of them are in my group, and other ones that they realize themselves. They have. It's happening so frequently. I don't think you guys are aware of it. And what happens is there's a period of time, what I've noticed now, there's a period of time when you realize the self. You realize yourself. There is a period of time where there is a kind of a confusion period that can happen, because it can happen. I don't know how it will happen for you. I'm not saying it will. But what I've noticed in a few people, that it's like you realize yourself and then you don't even realize that you realized yourself. Just because you've been practicing surrendering the mind so much that then all of a sudden it just becomes an embodied state of living, and then it's just like, it's so obvious, and that's what you do, and that's just what you are, and you're just your natural state again. But there's no idea that, oh, I've realized myself, I'm enlightened now. That doesn't even come up. So you just feel like lighter, and you just feel like self-realization seems to start to feel very silly. It could start to feel a little bit silly, like the idea of it, like I'm trying to get somewhere. It'll start to feel silly, because you'll just be like, I am what I am, kind of, and it's just so embodied, and everything feels so much lighter that everything's happening in front of you. But what could happen at that time, I've seen this happen now, is like the mind is still kind of in a pattern of I need to be the seeker. So it's still trying to seek for something. And so you could go through a period of time where it's like, I don't know why these things are not feeling relevant or not feeling exciting anymore, and everything feels so light, and it could be like a little bit of a confusion period. So we're going to be tuning in together because that's why I want to connect with you guys, and I want you to share, because I can feel into where you guys are at too. You know, I've had some people that I've connected with, they didn't really even realize that they'd realized themselves. But it was so apparent to me that that's where they were at. And I had that happen with a few people that were trying to join my leadership course even. And I was like, you don't need to join my leadership course because you're already there. So when I reflected that to them, I could feel that very strongly. That's what they were. But they were still kind of in that, oh, I need to be getting somewhere still. And I could see, no, you already are that very clearly, and you just need to realize that you are that. And so then there's kind of an empowerment that can come from that when you realize that. So if I want you guys to share where you're at and what's going on with you, because if you if something's not feeling, you're like doing this process during these 99 days, and then it just starts to feel like you're not resisting it. You're not resisting self-realization. You're not like, oh, screw self-realization, I don't want this. You're not resisting it, but it's just there's something that's shifted somehow. Then, if you connect with me, we can kind of maybe get some clarity about what's going on. But I'll see that from what you're sharing. If you can share that in the group, then we can start to reflect this to each other. You see, so we can start to become very clear on what's going on, because we're all going to be moving into this as a whole collective. So we need to be sharing in the group so that we can all start to see what's going on within each other, because we need to reflect this to each other. That's why I don't want to work really one-on-one with anybody anymore. It doesn't seem relevant. We have to work together as a collective. We have to work together as a group. And then we can work in groups and assist each other too. So So use the heart to really start to tune in, though, because I want you to really get clear on if you're fully, the heart will know the truth. The heart will know the truth, okay? And you have to really declare that you want the truth. You have to. Because there could be some heavy emotions in your mind-body system that maybe there's a part of your being that's scared of seeing that. And it could be taking what I'm saying and be saying, oh yeah, I'm already self-realized. I don't need to worry about self-realization. I'm gonna get out of this program. I don't need to worry about this. And if you identified with that and you were just so up here in the mind and believing that and not really tuned in with the heart to feel what's really going on. Is there something that I'm running away from? Or is this really, what is my truth? And you really wanted to know the truth, your heart would tell you. Because you would feel some twinges of something heavy in the heart. that would let you know. Because if you were really realizing yourself, then it would just start to feel like, okay, I'm not resisting this. But, it would just feel like so light, and you'd be like, I'm not resisting this. There's no resistance of anything. I'm not running away from anything. I'm totally open to feeling any and everything that could ever arise. I know that. I know I'm not scared of feeling any and everything that could ever arise. It would be an authentic embodiment of feeling that. And then it would just feel like, oh, well, pursuing self-realization seems kind of silly. It could start to feel kind of silly. But it wouldn't come from a resistance. It would just come from a... So sometimes that's why there's a confusion, because you could be so dedicated to self-realization, and then all of a sudden it'll start to feel like this feels kind of silly. That could happen. But if that's what you're feeling, please share this in the group, because share this with us, because I really want you guys we want to share this for each other. We need to reflect this to our community so we can all see how to get out of this and see how easy it is. So if you do have a realization, please share it. Please share it with our group. Please share it. And if you have a fear that's saying, oh, I can't share that because I don't know, well, then notice, then there's something that's hiding in there. There's something that's hiding that doesn't want to be seen. Why is it hiding? Whatever wants to hide is not the truth. Because the deeper you go with self-realization, and as you go fully into irreversible self-realization, you realize that nothing's personal. And so there's nothing to hide, so you're open to sharing. You're open to sharing anything and everything because you're realizing, oh, I am one with everything. Everything is one with me. And I want to assist all of myself. So there's a deep openness. So we need to share as a community, everyone. We need to share. I want you guys to share your realizations. I want you guys to share whatever's coming up. We have to share. We have to do this together as a community. We're uniting as a global community of self-realized beings. See? And you are a part of this. And your path is for self-realization. If you are here, you are good enough to realize yourself. You already are what you are. You're here because a deep part of your being knows this is where you're supposed to be. I know what this community that's being created is. I know what it is. We are a group of aligned self-realized beings. You are supposed to be here. You are a part of this. There's going to be certain people that maybe perhaps get into a deep realization very quickly, but not because they're any better. It's because they're just going to be here to assist all of us. We're all assisting. As each one of us has a deep realization, we need to share about it. So that way we can all share and everybody else gets inspired. Everybody has to get inspired from this. It creates a momentum. Because what happens when one person starts sharing in this way, then that creates oh, I can do it too. And then these mental containers of self-doubt basically get dissolved. And then you could have an instant realization just from that. So we're assisting each other. We have to assist each other. And I want you to know, I whatever you would share, like I shared a friend of mine, I shared her video yesterday in the community room, and what she was sharing, it sounded different than maybe what I shared on my live stream the day before. It sounded like maybe opposite what I was saying, and I want you to know I can't even perceive it that way. There's no opposing things. Whatever you're saying is you're part of me. It's perfect. I want you to share whatever it is. However, if you realize something from your own realization, and there's an idea that, oh, that's not what Nazarah is saying, that's something different. It's not. I don't hold any perspective. I don't have any specific perspective. I don't have any perspective. That's it. I don't hold any perspective whatsoever. I am all perspectives. So all of this is, all that's getting shared from my being is simply to release mental containers so we can just be what we are and know ourselves as the truth. These words don't mean anything. They're just pointers for all of us. So we're all assisting each other and pointing each other. So thank you guys for sharing with each other in this way. Thank you for assisting each other. Every single perspective is very important. And be fearless. Share with our group. Open yourself up and share what's coming up. We are doing this realization together as a whole community, as a united, aligned community. We are realizing ourselves together in the fastest time period possible that's ever been done before. Believe in our community. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself so you can believe in our community. If you start believing in yourself, you'll be able to believe in our community. You will. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. We're just busting through the mental containers that have been on this whole planet. The whole planet's been filled with mental containers. So we're just breaking out of them for the whole collective, for our whole community, and for the whole collective. But it starts with you first. Every single moment you're in presence, you're self-realized, you see, every single moment. So then the more that you just keep aligning with presence again and again and again and again and again, at some point you're gonna realize, I am the presence. I just am that. So then everything will just happen within you, basically. And things will still be happening. There's still gonna be all kinds of thoughts, especially right when you first realize it. You don't even realize you realize yourself, like I was saying, because there'll still be all kinds of silly thoughts, but you just will you'll get a sense of you're just so embodied in allowing everything. You're so embodied in allowing everything and not getting hooked with it, and not having like, oh, this means something, oh, that means something, oh, this means something, oh, this means something about me. Nothing is personal anymore. It's just, oh, that's all okay, that's fine, and that's fine too. Oh, that happened, okay, that's fine too. Oh, that happened, that's fine too. Oh, that thought happened, that's fine. Oh, that sensation happened, that's fine too. That emotion happened, that's fine too. Just, it's so, everything is fine. Everything just becomes fine. Everything is fine as it is. So that's where you guys are going. And as once we get together and start spending time in groups, there'll be a deeper clarity that will come in. You know, you can have a deeper embodied clarity that will come through sitting in higher states of presence, and through higher frequencies of presence for a longer period of time. And as we sit in a group together, it'll be very easy for us to access this. So that's what I've experienced on my path. You know, I kind of had that sense of, I didn't really know I realized myself at first. It just, everything seemed lighter. But there was still kind of some heavy mental containers that were in my field, so it was still feeling heavy energy in my mind-body system. Like I could feel that my person felt depressed. Because there was some kind of realization that my person didn't actually exist, and that was a very deep realization. But then there was kind of a sense of the mind was feeling depressed about that, but there was no thoughts that were coming up about it. It was just a sense of that energy in my field. But I wasn't identified with it. I was just seeing that that's in front of me, and that's okay too. I was just so, okay, that's fine. So I was sitting with that for a period of time. And that happened, I think, sometime either like end of November or something like that. Or probably like that. It happened basically, I think, at the end of November. If you guys followed my blog, I had like all those different incidences that happened. That was kind of the energy that got purged. It was very intense. And then that's when I actually realized myself, but I didn't know that I realized myself because I was still in a heavy energy in my field. But everything felt lighter somehow. And then I realized, oh, well, the thoughts are just happening in front of me. And then the declaration that I was making, the mind kept making this declaration, like, it kept kind of saying, like, I am the one, I am that, or something. But when I would hear the mind say that, it kind of felt silly for some reason. It was like, okay. Because there was just such a deep state of, I am the presence, kind of, but it just so embodied all of a sudden, and I didn't really realize that, because it's just what you are. So it could be like you don't even realize it. it just feels like you just are so allowing of everything that and anything that could ever arise. Anything and everything that could ever arise, you're so allowing and you're so at peace with it. So then there was kind of a period of time after that where I was in that mental container, like that heaviness kind of feeling, and then there was kind of these old feelings that were arising from the body level as like desires that were arising, but I couldn't really believe them because it would come up and be like, oh, I always wanted this, I always wanted that, but then it was like who is saying that? Kind of the mind was asking that question, like who is the one that's asking that? And do I want to do that right now? And then it was like, well, no, I don't want to do that right now. So that question's false. That desire is false. So then I just started to see through all these old kind of emotional things that were in the body. They were being released. And then after that, there was kind of I had a realization when who was my teacher, who is my partner now, Sri Sumairo, I had a realization. He kind of confirmed me. He basically told me, oh, you realized yourself. I didn't know that I had realized myself. He told me that, though, from speaking with me. And when he told me that, then that was an instant kind of, there was a mental container of self-doubt in my being that was very strong. And so that instantly released it. And as soon as that released it, I sat in meditation basically all day long, and I just had profound realizations came in, because it was like instant, like clarity came in, because that mental container was so big in my field of self-doubt. So as soon as that was dissolved, I just had these profound realizations, and I snapped out of those mental containers, and I just became so ecstatically blissful and realized, oh, I'm seeing everything. And that realizations came so present, so profoundly blissful. And so then I was just kind of staying at that state, and that's about at the time when I started feeling like, oh, I'm going to share. It just right around that time was like, oh yeah, I know, oh yeah, and it just kind of got everything, and I started sharing on YouTube, or on this channel. So that's kind of the progression, and then but there was still a lot of like some sense of confusion was still coming up every once in a while. And I was just like, oh, that's fine. I'm all perspectives. It doesn't matter. Every perspective is seen. I was just kind of in that state of, it's all fine. I don't care what happens. I'm the one seeing it all. It doesn't matter what this mind says. It doesn't matter. I don't care. So it was kind of still a deepening that was happening, though. And as I sat in presence longer, I started doing more satsangs with Suma, with my partner. We started sitting together and online, and as we were doing that, then I started deepening, because I was in that frequency of presence, and then I was kind of getting the question, do I want absolute truth? So that was coming up in my being as like a pull. Do I want the absolute truth? And of course I do always want. That's all my mind was caring about. So that was kind of the progression that was happening. And so as I stayed in that frequency with him longer and longer of sitting, I was able to stabilize into a deeper state of clarity, where these kind of perspective shifts started to stop, and the confusion things started to kind of stop. And then as I went deeper and deeper, it's become more and more clarity, where it's like, oh, the mind is not being moved like that at all anymore. There's no thoughts that are arising, and there's no perspective shifts. So it's just very focused energy right now in my being. So the longer you sit in these higher states, these higher frequencies of presence, you'll naturally align and naturally have the realizations. It's very effortless, very easy, very effortless, very easy. But that's why I'm saying you guys need to do this work to get to realizing yourself, where it's just you become so allowing of whatever it is. So whatever's arising in your experience, that's perfect. That is the test to see, are you going to allow this? Are you going to allow? Are you going to align with yourself that is the one that is allowing everything? That's what it is. So you guys have to do this work. Keep practicing. Stay focused. Stay committed. It's not hard to realize yourself. It's not hard for irreversible self-realization. It's not. It's not. Get out of those thoughts. Get out of those ideas. Get out of those beliefs. It's the easiest thing ever. It's already what you are. You've already experienced this before. You could be experiencing it right now. If you're feeling very blissful and very light, then that's where you're at. You're already experiencing it. So it's wonderful. But if you're feeling something in your being like, okay, I want to still keep practicing presence, wonderful. Keep trusting that. Because you need, if it's feeling like you need to keep practicing presence, it's because there's an intuitive part of your being that knows, okay, well, I want to embody this. I want to be so grounded in myself as presence. I'm already feeling so light, so I'm just going to know myself as the presence and be so deeply embodied in it that nothing will shake me from it ever. Nothing will pull me from it ever. And then that's how you'll see that you will feel at some point that all of time and all of space are happening within you, because you realize I'm seeing everything. So then, this old idea, this was part of like Eckhart Tolle's teachings of like just focus on the present moment and all of that. Yes, you have to do that, because the mind has to focus on presence. It has to focus on you, seeing you. The mind's awareness needs to focus on seeing you as the presence, as the space, as the awareness. It has to do that. Okay, it's very important. So to the mind, how the mind perceives it is, oh, I just have to be in the present moment. Because how the mind is always being moved is past, future, past, future, past, future, past, future. It doesn't want to stay because it's scared to just be in the space. And so you've been so identified with that and thinking that that mind is you, that you have been playing that out. But that was never you. That was just a kind of experience in that state of consciousness we were experiencing. So when you actually realize yourself, you're going to feel, oh, I am. It's just you're so embodied in knowing that you are the presence. So then thoughts could happen. A thought of the past could come up. The thought of the future could come up. A thought of a vision could come up. All these thoughts can come up. They're so perfect. And you'd actually see that they could be a message for you. You wouldn't have any resistance to them because you wouldn't be identified with any of them, because they're all happening within you, in front of you. You're the space that's holding all of time and all of space. And your mind-body system is just being utilized for a specific purpose on this planet to assist this collective. So Suma is going to be a part of this group. I've added him as an admin now, and I've added a couple of the people, Nita and Natalie, are going to be admins in the group. They just graduated from the program, and they have had very deep realizations, and they are so loving, and I just totally adore them. So they're going to be assisting in our group in whatever way feels most exciting for them. And yeah, and so Suma will be a part of this group too, and we'll start to do some type of sharing next week. We'll have a live stream where it'll be like a question and answer. But I'll still be doing a satsang that day. I'll still be doing a live stream session that day. And then we'll have like a question answer for you guys, so you guys can kind of connect with him, and you can connect with us together in this way. And then we'll tune into how we all want to work together to support our whole community in realizing themselves within this 99 days. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And please share yourselves in the group. Share openly. Just express yourself, whatever's coming up. It takes the power out of all these fears if you can just express them. And we can start to support each other as a family. Have a beautiful rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.